Hello guys, Jacob here, and today we're going to be talking about the atheists' connection with the LGBTQ lobbyist group. And here we have a post made on a Facebook group known as Atheists versus Christians Debate Central. Now, every now and then you get a photo posted by a Christian or a theist on the cultural trend that we're observing in our country and in the UK. So here we have one such post made by an individual by the name of Mustafa, and he asks, why atheists think this is okay? And that's a good question. I really have no idea why atheists believe that men dressing very indecently, very inappropriately in front of the public, basically naked, is entirely okay. I really have no idea why they think this. So here is a photo of a man who is pretty much not wearing anything below his waistline except for a sock over his private part. So if you're a child, or if you're underage, or if you're a parent who doesn't want your kid to be watching this, then I'd recommend watching it without your kids around. Okay, so this man is in the public, and he's dressed like this. He's dressed basically naked with his pube hairs showing, and obviously this is very sexually explicit and detailed. This is going to paint a picture in your kids' eyes, in their mind. Okay? And all it's doing is perverting the mind of children. It's getting them introduced to grown men. And it's basically, in a sense, pedophilia. It's, whenever they say when adults look at young kids in inappropriate outfits, that's pedophilia, right? Well, this would have the same effect on children, looking at grown men dressed so indecently, so inappropriately. Now, this is done in a public parade. This is on the streets. People have to pass streets. They have to go where they need to go. And if by chance you have your children with you, they'll be exposed to this stuff. This is the public, okay? This isn't some kind of private event, private street. This is in the public sphere. This is in our children's view if they were walking by chance in that area, okay? So just so that you can see exactly what I'm upset about, and what many Christians and atheists, even atheists, show some kind of disagreement. Very few, but let's see what atheists have to say about it, all right? So let's begin at the top of what atheists have had to say. Now, this is just plain lewd. It's very inappropriate. I'm sure, many atheists say, well, what about the Catholic priests who are homosexual and they're preying on little boys? And like I tell everyone, all of this goes against Christianity. It goes against what Jesus Christ did and what he stands for. Scripture tells us that there are wolves in sheep's clothing. And that, anyone who does anything or says anything that contradicts what Christ said or did in its context is not a follower of Christ, all right? So here we have Jinzin Hyen, who says, what's your problem with it, Mustafa? Oh, what's the big deal? It's just a man with no pants on or no underwear, just a sock over his private part. What's the big deal? Here we have Jason. He says, is there a problem? And this is atheist versus Christian. These are atheists here, okay, who are trying to defend this man's behavior. And would you want, a Catholic priest to be dressing like this man and to be at a school at a public school. Of course not. Any rational person would not want to see this around their children. Chris says that guy in the photo is a Christian. Now, that's hilarious, Chris, because you say that to every post. Every post of a man naked, you basically say, oh, well, that's a Christian. We all know what you're trying to pull there, buddy. This guy represents this guy represents atheism. He represents anti-Christ. Okay? He's anti-Christ. He does not promote what Christ does promote. Now, they're atheists, and we'll see here that all these atheists, at the majority of them, I'd say 98% of them, are entirely okay with this behavior being displayed in the public's eye. I mean, here's Bonnie, says, I know, right? Why can't something as wholesome as a stoning or beheading? LOL. Another straw man, a topic that has nothing to do with what's going on in this video, or in this picture. They say, well, at least it's not as bad as stoning or beheading. Really? Like if any of that happens in America or in the UK. Madison says, you walk in platform heels. Chacon says, okay, this isn't okay. It's fabulous. Really, Chacon? You think this is fabulous? For children to be exposed to this kind of behavior? I mean, keep to yourself. I mean, why do you have to share? Why do you have to expose this nudity? Expose yourself in the public. What are you striving after exactly? A reaction? From who? Bob says, what's wrong with it? Oh, well, there's nothing wrong with it, huh, Bob? Add in another atheist. And many of these atheists I've argued with over and over in the past. I mean, we've gone into arguments about different topics. But this seems to be one of the main topics that they're always more than happy to defend. So Add-in says, because who the F cares? I don't give a F. Oh yeah, very appropriate language. Kind of goes with the behavior displayed in that picture, huh, Add-in? Weird looking guy. What a person wears or how they express themselves, so long as they're a good person. Oh yeah, they're definitely a good person, huh, Add-in? I'm sure you'd want to trust your kids with that man, huh? Are they harming you? Sticking their tongue out, Samuel. Rami wants to bring emphasis on the inappropriateness of this. And Alex says, thanks for focusing on this aspect. It was totally difficult to ascertain in the original picture. Yeah, because it wasn't, Alex, right? It wasn't. Yet you're entirely okay with it. Adrian, is that your Sunday outfit? Another atheist that I've debated. Ecuardo, why do you think this is okay? I don't know. Ask your fellow atheists. And Gary says, why are theists looking at it? Well, sometimes people need to cross the street. They need to go to places, and they come across this crap in the middle of the public, in the public eye, and they're just exposed to it. I mean, here, look, I'm just looking through Facebook, and sometimes I'm exposed to that crap even on YouTube. I mean, it's just there. We don't have any choice in the matter, do we? Because you guys can't seem to keep your snake in your pants. Fiona, when is a rainbow cover ever okay? So you think, oh man, this person's, upset. But then they say, it should be a flesh color. Everybody knows that. So this atheist is saying, well, it should be more explicitly sexually illicit, more detailed. Sick lady. Eric says, what does OP have to do with atheism? There's believers doing this too. My guess is that since the majority of society is comprised of believers, actually not in the UK, and no, believers don't engage in this behavior. I mean, if they were known to engage in this behavior at any, Pentecostal, Baptist, or Catholic church, I believe that church would excommunicate those members from their community. You gotta get rid of the wolves who are in cheap clothing. Okay? We all know, even like Trump, for example, all politicians to be elected would have to say that they're, a Christian, for example, here in America to get elected. I mean, it's just, even if I weren't a Christian, if I wanted to get elected, I'd pretend I was a Christian. I mean, what's so far-fetched about that? It happens all the time. Even Jesus says, only those who do my Father's will be saved. No fornicator, no adulterer, no one who has sex outside of marriage, especially after becoming a Christian, will be saved. Okay? They will not inherit the kingdom of heaven until, if they ever give up their addictive behavior, their sexual, mental disorder. If they ever give it up. Here we have Jason say, it has nothing to do with being atheist. Then why don't you speak against it? Why don't we see any atheists speaking against it, Jason? Matt says, why are you so worried about it? Why am I so worried about it? Why? I should be worried about it. I don't want my kids to be exposed to that nonsense. Just like I don't want my kids to be watching porn. I don't want my kids' minds to be infatuated on sexuality, on sex. Okay? Life is more. They are going to be trained to understand that they are defined by who they are as a person and not on their sex. Okay? The reason why you bring so much emphasis on a person's sex is because your mind is tainted. Your mind is all about sex. That's all it's all about. Let's be honest here. I mean, people can be identified by their beliefs in God, in science, in their hobbies, art, music, by their intellectual capacities. Why not emphasize all these things? But no, your main thing is sex, sex, sex. What the? All right, so Mary says, why are theists such yanny nanny scolding old poops? Now this woman, she's beyond insane. I've debated her on several topics, and this is basically how she responds all the time. She says, what makes you all so insecure? Why does the happy behavior of others bother you so much? Jealous? Really? I could care less about this individual. Okay, I just don't want to see it. I don't want my kids to be introduced to it. Antonio, only religious MF would say that, like, y'all don't masturbate to that type of LMAO. Okay, so I guess Antonio would be okay with people masturbating on the streets in public. Oh, it's perfectly fine. You guys don't seem to understand what keeping your sexual life private means. Linia, why are you posting this picture of yourself? Ha, funny. Chris says nothing to do with atheism, yet no atheist has spoken out against it. And you'll see there's very few. Very few. Sue says I wouldn't wear it. Wow, okay. That's your main opinion, so you just wouldn't wear that in public. So if you didn't wear it, yeah, you wouldn't have nothing to put it on. It's just a sock. You can't put it on your private part because you don't have what a man has. Really, Sue? And look at these people. They all look like normal people, but they're not. They're mentally they're missing a screw in their head that gives them the ability to perceive this as being wrong. It's basically, pedophilia. For kids, I mean, if the kids are watching it in the public, it's basically him exposing himself to children. It's indecency. It's public indecency. But in the eyes of atheists, homosexuals can't do nothing wrong. Kevin, the better question would be, why do you feel this isn't okay? Really, Kevin? Really? Margaret, I'm sure you would want your teachers at the public schools to be dressed like this, huh? Be just perfectly acceptable. Perfectly. First thing that popped up in my head was, what's keeping the sock on there Haha. The emoji, laughing emoji. We don't need a wardrobe malfunction. Okay, so, wow. Really, guys? This is the best you have against this. Not one atheist speaking out against it. He does not hurt anyone, says Lona Trohit. He does not kill anyone. He does not force anyone on his behalf. What should be wrong with that? He lives in his life without harming anyone. So I guess you'd be perfectly fine with people being naked in front of your house while you have guests, or if you're just walking down your street, people walking naked on the streets. It's perfectly fine now. It's just, whatever, dude, whatever. Why are you so bothered? Attracted? He is free. Oh, yeah. Wow, guys, wow. Now, here's a guy by the name of Sam Kelly. I've debated this individual on other topics, and I commend him because he says not all atheists support this BS. Okay, and then the commenter, the OP poster, the guy who made this, says Mustafa. He says, "Good to hear." And then here comes Mary sticking her nose again, saying, "Even the atheist can be a yanny nanny scolding old poop." So she's mocking her fellow atheists. And then this person, who with a long crazy name, which I cannot pronounce, says, "I read Sadi. There is nothing really I can do. Everyone is indeed free. But the hysteria and polarization of this, I don't agree. Beautiful arts first." So she says it's art. So now you see nowadays in the public schools, men and women being completely nude, hanging out with kids, and they're taking photos with them. And that's just perfectly fine, huh? Just perfectly fine for your kids to be exposed to men naked. What's wrong with this generation? And then this person says, Matthew says, "Then you're more of an ignorant theist than an enlightened atheist." So he's saying that since this atheist is speaking out against this, that he is more like an theist. Really? Really, Matthew? Hilarious. And I like this. I like what's going on here, because what atheists are doing, and they don't realize it, is that they're pushing their fellow atheists away. The ones who can see the insanity of all of this, the atheists who have strong a moral code, they're being pushed away by their fellow atheists. And I feel like, once that happens, those atheists are gonna come back to reason, come back to logic, come back to objective reality of truths, of morals, and realize that God is indeed needed in this world. James says, "I think some public decency is in order. Name calling isn't a good way to get your point across." So, it's just basic common sense. All right, we don't want naked men in front of little children exposing themselves indecently, and then to children, for their minds to be corrupted and for their minds to be focused on sex and sexuality. But we want their minds to be focused on things that actually matter. Okay? Jasmine says, "Why you think it's not? Nobody gets hurt. You have never seen genitals before? They don't bite." Really, Jasmine? And the funny thing is that a lot of these atheists, if you look at their profile, they're single. They're single. And I think the reason why they're single also has to do with this. It has to do with their sexuality, their, I don't want to get into too much detail or to speculate too much, but it's just, I don't think it's a coincidence, all right? Deborah says, "Well, women do the same thing technically." Jaden says, "Talk about the easily offended." Now, sure, they might do it in private. On private porn sites and stuff like that, but not in public. I guess it depends where you're raised, because if you're raised in like Brazil, where everyone's basically naked, I mean, this might be just considered okay, just perfectly fine. But if you're raised in a country like ours, where we believe in having decency, and we know that men are easily enticed into sexual behavior, and they're horny bastards, all of them really. Then the same thing with many women, and that this stuff is being promoted. This kind of stuff can really mess up a kid's mind. And look at me now. I mean, I could be doing something better, but I have to freaking address this because it's not being addressed. It's being accepted. And I want my fellow theists and atheists who are against this to come together and realize that morals, objective morals, are required, are needed. They are needed. Okay, even though you might not have a solid foundation for them, you know that it's needed. As we theists, our foundation is on God. Our foundation is based on our belief in God. So, guys, tell me, what do you think so far about this image? And this ain't the only time. This ain't the only image that's been popping up. I mean, theists have been popping up photos exposing the reality of the LGBTQ extremists that is going on. I mean, this isn't the only man that's doing this. This is happening everywhere. I mean, there's men dressed like this, even going to the 7-Eleven that you're at, your neighborhood 7-Eleven. I mean, it's happening, guys. It starts in the UK. Whatever happens in the UK and that godless driven land over there is gonna happen over here. America, for some reason, reflects the UK. Okay. So, tell me, guys, what do you think? Do you think this is perfectly fine? I mean, would you allow this guy to take care of your kids? Would you let him in a public classroom? Walk around publicly? He's not even wearing any pants. I mean, there's nothing back there to hide anything. This is just disturbing, disgusting, and it needs to be addressed. And we need to understand why are so many atheists perfectly okay with it? I mean, they're actually promoting it. So, give me your opinions, and you have a blessed day.